Hi there, this is Emma Malina from rooted Santa Barbara County. The nights are getting a little cooler and things are getting a little cozier, and we thought we'd bring you a special holiday edition class to watch at your convenience. We actually recently put this class together for our friends over at the Breast Cancer Resource Center, but figured we'd share it with the entire community in hopes of keeping everyone healthy and to help everyone eat more plants this holiday season. So we hope you enjoy our presentation of Rethinking Holiday Classics to Boost the Immune System. So I'm going to get a little dorky here right off the bat, but ever since I was a kid, I like to understand how things work. So we're going to start with the immune system. The immune system is basically a complex network of cells, tissues, and organs that work together to identify and defend the body against infection. And this network has three major functions. First is to fight disease causing germs, otherwise known as pathogens, like bacteria, viruses, or parasites, and to remove them from the body. Second is to recognize and neutralize harmful substances from the environment. And finally, to fight disease causing changes in the body, such as cancer cell proliferation. And there are two subsystems of the immune system. These multiple body systems work together to create layers of defenses that keep disease causing pathogens out. First up, you have the innate immune system. This is your first line of defense, your skin, nose, mouth, eyes, etc. These identify any foreign pathogen that try to invade and spread throughout the body. And the system isn't able to distinguish between different pathogens, and it basically uses the same method of attack on every infection. Next up, you have the adaptive immune system, and this covers our second and third line of defense. These cells are able to identify the specific pathogen, attack and destroy it, and continue to battle it out until all the germs are wiped out, however long that takes. The cells in the adaptive system will form memory cells after an infection so that it knows how to attack the same pathogen if it ever returns. This is what we refer to as immunity. So, in addition to pathogens and diseases, there are many everyday things that can also hinder our immune system. Stress and anxiety, alcohol and smoking, lack of exercise and lack of sleep, dehydration, and of course, the foods we eat. Or, as I prefer to focus on, the foods we might not yet be eating enough of. The body needs a variety of vitamins and nutrients to function properly, and it gets these from food. So, a diet with low nutritional value can leave you more prone to infections and chronic diseases. Sugar can also inhibit the effectiveness of white blood cells and their action against disease causing microbes. When we keep foods that are high in fat and sugar to a minimum and increase our intake of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes, we can feel a lot more confident that our body is getting all of the nutrition it needs to do its job. But it's important to understand that not all bacteria is bad. In fact, we have more bacterial cells than human cells in our body. If I'm remembering correctly, it's something like 9 out of 10 cells in our body are actually bacterial cells. And while that might sound really gross, it's actually pretty amazing because these good, healthy bacterial cells live on the skin, in the nose, ears, and most of all, in our gut, and they're working non-stop to protect us. The microbiome of bacteria and the immune system are basically joined at the hip. The diversity and composition of foods present in the gut determines what information immune cells receive and thus affects multiple systems throughout the body. In fact, it's believed that between 70 and 80% of our entire immune system actually resides in our gut. So, if you want to boost your immunity, feed your gut exactly what it wants, and that's unprocessed whole plant foods, which are incredibly high in fiber. So, what does this all have to do with what we eat over the holidays? Well, a lot. We're about to enter one of the most stressful times of the year, and it can also be one of the most joyful, social, and connected times, but it usually comes with a good dose of stress, anxiety, perhaps even loneliness, and a myriad of other tricky emotional states. It's also a time when we tend to eat and drink a lot more than usual. It also gets darker earlier and can at times be colder, which may keep us indoors more and exercising less than usual, all of which, again, can have a negative impact on our immune system and make us more vulnerable to illness.
So, with all that in mind, whether you're the host, the guest, or an individual, a couple, a family, or a group of friends who enjoy marking the holidays with a special meal, I wanted to offer a few tips and tricks for keeping the holidays as stress free as possible while also honoring your health. First up, get clarity. Whether you're hosting or will be a guest, be clear on dietary restrictions or preferences. If you're hosting, ask whether your guests have dietary restrictions and do your best to accommodate. If you're unable to, that's okay. Ask them to bring something along that they will enjoy. If you'll be a guest and have food preferences you'd rather follow, be clear on what those are and offer to bring a dish for yourself and others to enjoy. Next up, be Switzerland. In other words, make dishes as neutral as possible, but consider providing add-ons nearby. So if you make mashed potatoes without butter, consider having a butter dish on the table for those who simply can't live without it. Love your salad with toasted walnuts? Great, but nut allergies are very common. Put them in a bowl on the side. Same goes for cheese and other dairy products like butter, cream, or milk. Did you know that approximately 70% of the world's population has issues digesting dairy? And there are very strong indicators that dairy may very well boost progression of cancer cells. So leave it off altogether or serve it on the side. It's a lot easier to add in than it is to subtract. Recently, we hosted a class with Dr. Heidi Lucas, who I believe has taught some classes previously with the Breast Cancer Resource Center as well. And she was talking about her favorite kitchen staples to always have on hand to boost the immune system. And I don't think it's a coincidence that there's tremendous overlap with foods identified as having strong cancer fighting capabilities as well. I think that's one of the things that actually excites us so much about whole food plant-based lifestyle. It's not that there's one food for this and one food for that. It's that all foods are good for nearly everything across the board. They're all working in tandem to feed and fuel our healthy cells, and because they come with very little baggage, there's not a whole lot to worry about. So, how do we get these foods into our holiday cornucopia? And ideally into our meals every day before and after too? Well, first we make ourselves aware of them. Then we make a list and we make a conscious effort to sneak them in wherever we can, or better yet, embrace them and serve them front and center. Even easier, I highly recommend downloading the Daily Dozen app and see how many you can check off each day. These are not the only foods you can eat, and it's certainly not enough calories per day for most people. But if we all strive to check off as many boxes on this list as possible, we'd see pretty rapid improvements to our health. Please note, if some of these foods are newer to you, I definitely recommend ramping up slowly, as sudden changes to what we eat, even when it's good for us, can cause those trillions of gut microbes to go into a frenzy, which can cause temporary discomfort, gas, and bloating. So go slow and low to begin with. So, what are some creative ways to use immune boosting foods in holiday meals? First up, let's start with a beverage. I rarely drink alcohol these days personally, but I still enjoy getting into the festive spirit with a non-alcoholic drink that feels special. It could be hot, it could be sparkling or still, with muddled fruits or herbs. A quick Google search will reveal thousands upon thousands of options, but most are actually loaded with lots of added sugars, so I tend to keep it simple. A 100% juice like pomegranate or cranberry mixed with green tea or mint or cinnamon and ginger and served warm with hot water, or cool with sparkling water and a fresh mint sprig or slice of citrus, berries, or even pomegranate seeds to finish it. If you prefer something sweeter, you could make a mulled apple cider with ginger and add a little date syrup to the pot. I've seen so many great recipes for non alcoholic mojitos, sangrias, and all sorts of festive spritzers. Water is vital, but a mocktail can really get you in the holiday spirit. Instead of standard mashed potatoes loaded with butter, cream, or entire sticks of cream cheese, try splitting the desired amount 50-50 with cauliflower steamed for about 10 to 12 minutes with a clove or two of garlic. Puree the cauliflower and garlic and fold into the boiled and mashed potatoes. These are so good. And incorporate a cruciferous vegetable and amazing garlic. There are many foods within the plant kingdom that can be used to make dishes creamy without actually being dairy and without adding a calorie bomb to your meal. As much evidence as there is out there that extra virgin olive oil is healthy for us, it is also a calorie bomb. And for many, this isn't a problem, but if weight loss is part of your health goal, reducing oil is much easier to control at home. All proteins and carbs have 4 calories per gram, whereas all fats have 9 calories per gram, more than double. My favorite creamy makers are cauliflower, white beans, organic tofu, and of course, non-dairy milks. You can add cauliflower to soups before blending. Same with tofu. Get the silken or soft tofu. The silken comes in a shelf-stable Tetra Pak, and this is a really great pantry staple to have it on hand. You can simply blend it up in a blender combined with a ladle of the soup and add it back into the pot. I use this method also for creamy mushroom pasta or risotto-style dishes. You can thin it out with a little hot water
Even
if
mac and
necessary.
cheese can be transformed into something that's not simply less unhealthy, but is actually surprisingly healthy. Try red lentil pasta. Make a creamy cheese sauce with oats or sweet potatoes and top it with toasted cauliflower crumbs. Oh, it's so good, delicious.
Don't just do roast potatoes. Add in fennel and carrots and beets and celeriac, parsnips, whatever you can find locally, and really feed those gut microbes the diversity of foods and fiber they're looking for. Another bonus of this recipe is that these are completely oil-free. This recipe does have some maple syrup, but that can always be omitted if needed. The recipe is actually part of the Forks Over Knives 2021 Thanksgiving recipe collection, where you'll find literally dozens of equally delicious and healthy ideas that incorporate many immune-boosting foods, and more importantly, that don't include foods that hinder our immune function. So definitely check it out. Look, recipes are great, but unless there's baking involved, very few recipes need to be followed to a T. So get creative. Make it up as you go along. Look for places to add more goodness in. Is there room for berries and or whole grains in that salad? Can you make a salad dressing with ground flax seeds blended in at the end? Can you add more cruciferous vegetables to that soup, salad, or as a standalone side dish? Also, when using garlic, remember to chop then stop if you can. Letting chopped garlic sit out for at least 10 minutes before adding it to a pan or pot actually helps release its cancer-fighting compounds. Same thing goes for cruciferous vegetables. So again, chop and stop and just let it sit for a little while on your counter. Also, if you add a smidge of mustard powder to cruciferous vegetables, it increases the formation of sulforaphane, which has been shown to have anti-cancer properties. Taste as you go, and remember, add-ons on the table. People can add as much salt as they want, so it's so much better than serving over-salted food. One of the simplest ways to find inspiration is to identify dishes that you really love and then see if you can find a whole food plant-based version. Here are 2 of our team's favorite recipes for pumpkin pie and cranberry sauce, but there are so many others. Simple search cues will be helpful, like a whole food plant-based X or vegan blank. Just because it's vegan doesn't mean it's healthy. So you can also do salt, oil, and sugar swaps. So there are so many alternatives. If you look for oil alternatives to baking, you're going to find so many different things, or sugar alternatives. There's just so many great swaps and alternatives out there. But it's also good to make new traditions. Often, when we give up or restrict certain foods, we feel we have to find something that replaces it for look, texture, and centerpiece perspective. And if you love tofurkey or Gardein or Trader Joe's vegan turkey options, go for it. But don't feel obligated to offer a meat alternative. Let's face it, the turkey is usually the most stressful part of the holidays and also sometimes most disappointing. It's often really dry. If you like mushrooms, I highly recommend diving into their full potential, as they're so darn good for you and can create some absolutely delicious and rich dishes that can be eaten in smaller portions and won't require a nap or unbuttoning of your pants. Think mushroom risotto, mushroom and lentil shepherd's pie, or a mushroom Wellington, for example, that can be divvied up in a single slice. A few Christmases ago, I started making a mushroom pot roast, and this has now become one of my family's favorite cozy meals. This virtual vegan portobello pot roast, she has a recipe that's for the Instapot and also for stovetop, and it's so delicious and incredibly easy to make. Most importantly, though, keep it simple. Plan your menu as far in advance as possible and shop for non-perishable items early on, so there's no mad dash for pumpkin spice or wild rice or cranberries. 2 days before, shop for the produce and light perishables before they get picked through. It's possible something won't be available, but there's almost always a replacement that will work just as well. And remember, make it easy on yourself. Pre-chopped items will save you time. I loathe all of the plastic used in food service and am very mindful of it 360 days of the year. But there is a time and a place when it really makes sense. A special occasion is the time to take advantage of already chopped squash pieces, sliced and diced mirepoix, canned beans, Tetra packs of low-sodium vegetable bouillon, bagged and trimmed beans, pre-washed lettuces, de-seeded pomegranates, etc., etc. And if this is all completely overwhelming, remember, you don't have to do anything. There are plenty of small, medium, and large businesses out there that would love to help you fulfill your holiday meal needs. Whether it's a plant-based restaurant like Oliver's or Mesa Verde, or a local caterer who is happy to accommodate special dietary requests, or grocery stores like Whole Foods and Lazy Acres. There are so many options out there. You are not alone. But I also want to remind you, when we're trying to eat healthy, this in itself can cause stress and feelings can get hurt. So do what you can on the food, but also shift focus to other things like music, decorations, and celebration, the truly important aspects. If conversations start leaning towards divisive topics, try to have a few activities or conversation starters up your sleeve to divert any stressful and difficult interactions. Making a toast is always a good room silencer. Perhaps have everyone state 3 things they're grateful for. Ask people about their hobbies and interests, what they've discovered about themselves during these last 20 months, what books, movies, or podcasts they're enjoying, where they hope to travel in the new year. Perhaps go for a light walk before or after your meal if time allows. Most importantly, try to keep stress levels to a minimum. It's more important to have a great time than it is to have the perfect, healthy meal. So do the best you can and soak in the joy. And ultimately, the goal with Rooted is to get everyone simply eating more plants. The more plants we eat, the less we need pills and procedures. And with that, we thank you. For more information or how to help us grow and advance plant-based nutrition education in our community, please follow us on Instagram and or Facebook at Rooted Santa Barbara, or sign up for our newsletter by visiting our webpage, rootedsantabarbara.org. And from all of us, we wish you and yours a very happy, safe and healthy holiday. Thank you.